There are moments, rare, piercing moments, when life suddenly pauses you without permission. Not gently, not politely, but with a force so precise, so intentional, that you feel it deep in your chest before your mind can even understand it. This is one of those moments, and you already feel it, don't you? That strange stillness, that pull, that quiet tension rising inside you, as if something unseen just called your name. You didn't stumble into this by accident. You didn't just click at the right time. No, something deeper guided you here. Something intentional. Something urgent. Because messages like this don't chase everyone. They find the one who is ready, or the one who cannot afford to wait any longer. And right now, there is a reason your attention has been captured. A reason your thoughts feel interrupted. A reason your spirit feels slightly unsettled, like something is about to be revealed that you weren't expecting, but somehow you've been sensing it all along. Think about it. Have you been feeling a shift lately? A strange emotional wave that comes out of nowhere. Moments where memories hit harder than usual. Where certain thoughts, certain faces, certain voices from the past seem louder, clearer, almost as if they're trying to reach you again. You tried to ignore it. You told yourself it was just stress, just overthinking, just your mind replaying old emotions. But deep down something didn't feel ordinary about it. Because it isn't. There is a divine interruption happening right now, and it has your name written all over it. Time, as you understand it, feels linear, predictable, safe. But in the spiritual realm, time can fold. Moments can collide. Messages can cross dimensions. And sometimes when something is too important to wait, heaven does not ask for permission. It intervenes. This is that intervention. Because there is something you were meant to hear, something you were meant to feel, something you were meant to respond to. And the window for it is not as wide as you think. That's why this moment feels different. That's why your attention is locked in. That's why you feel this subtle urgency building, even if you can't fully explain it yet. You may have been busy, distracted, focused on everything happening around you, responsibilities, people, problems, routines. Life has a way of pulling you out. We're constantly moving, constantly demanding. But every now and then something pulls you inward, deep inward. And when that happens, it's not random. It's a signal that something beyond the physical is trying to reach you. A signal that something unresolved, something unfinished, something deeply connected to your soul is rising to the surface. And here's the truth you can't ignore anymore. You were meant to be here at this exact moment, hearing this exact message, because something cannot wait any longer. There is a voice that has been trying to reach you. Not loudly, not forcefully, but persistently, gently, repeatedly. Through thoughts you couldn't shake, through dreams that felt too real, through emotions that came without warning. You brushed it off. You told yourself it was imagination. You told yourself it was coincidence. But what if it wasn't? What if this moment right now is the confirmation you've been unknowingly waiting for? What if the reason you couldn't ignore that feeling, that memory, that inner pull is because it wasn't coming from you alone? Something is aligning. Something is being revealed. And someone, is trying to reach you before it's too late. You don't need to understand everything yet. You don't need all the answers right now. But you do need to stay. You do need to listen. Because what is about to unfold will change the way you see everything. This is not just a message. This is a moment. And moments like this don't come twice. Type "I am listening" in the comments if you feel this message is meant for you. Blessing code 1717 is now activated around your spirit. There is a kind of silence that is not empty, a silence that carries weight, memory, and presence. And right now, you are standing inside that kind of silence. It is not quiet because nothing is there. It is quiet because something sacred is trying to be heard. You may not have recognized it at first. You may have mistaken it for loneliness, for nostalgia, for those sudden emotional waves that arrive without warning. But what you are feeling is not just memory. It is connection. It is a voice that has not disappeared, only changed its form. Your mother's voice did not end when her physical presence left this world. It shifted. It moved beyond what your ears can naturally hear, into a realm where only the spirit can recognize it. And now, that voice is pressing through the veil that separates what is seen from what is unseen. Not randomly, not casually, but with intention, urgency, and longing. Because there is something she needs you to hear, something she cannot delay any longer. You have felt her before, haven't you? In moments when the world slowed down and something inside you tightened unexpectedly. In dreams that felt too vivid to dismiss, where her presence was not distant or faded but real, almost touchable. In sudden memories that didn't just pass through your mind, but stayed lingering, pulling at your heart in a way that felt alive. Those were not coincidences. Those were not your imagination filling in emotional gaps. That was her reaching, trying, pressing through with everything she has. Because love does not end. It does not dissolve with time, nor does it weaken with distance. It transforms. It finds new ways to move, new ways to speak, new ways to connect. And right now, her love is not resting quietly. It is calling out. It is searching for your attention. It is asking you to stop, to listen, to recognize that what you are feeling is not something to brush aside. There is something unfinished between you, not in a way that brings guilt, but in a way that calls for completion. Words that were never spoken, feelings that were never fully expressed, moments that passed too quickly, leaving behind questions, regrets, or things you assumed would always have more time. But time, as you now realize, does not always move according to human expectation. And what was left unsaid has been carried not just by you but by her as well. That is why this cry feels so deep. It is not just emotional. It is spiritual. It is the echo of a bond that was never meant to be broken, now trying to reconnect in a moment where it matters most. She is not reaching out to disturb your peace. She is reaching out to complete something that cannot remain incomplete any longer. And here is what makes this moment so powerful, so undeniable. You are not being asked to imagine her voice. You are being asked to recognize it, to acknowledge that the pull you feel is real, that the connection you sense is not something your mind created, but something your spirit remembers. Because your spirit knows her. Your spirit recognizes her presence beyond the limitations of the physical world. But there is also urgency in this cry, a kind of urgency that does not come from fear, but from timing, from knowing that there is a window open right now that will not remain open forever. That what needs to be said, what needs to be done, what needs to be felt and released must happen now. Not later. Not when it is more convenient. Not when you feel more ready. Now. That is why the voice feels stronger. That is why the pull feels heavier. That is why you cannot simply scroll past this moment and return to normal without something inside you resisting it. Because this is not just a memory calling you back. This is a message reaching you forward. Your mother is not distant. She is not unreachable. She is not gone in the way the world tries to define absence. She is present in a way that requires you to look beyond what is visible and trust what you feel, And right now, what you feel is her calling your name, asking you to listen, asking you to respond. Do not dismiss this. Do not silence it. Do not convince yourself that it is easier to ignore than to understand. Because what is being offered to you in this moment is rare. It is sacred. It is a chance to bridge something that most people never even realize is possible. And the truth is simple but powerful. She is not reaching out because she wants something trivial. She is reaching out because something meaningful depends on your response. You are not alone in this moment. You are being called into it. Type "I hear her voice" in the comments if you feel this connection. Blessing code 2222 is now surrounding your spirit. There are certain dates that pass like any other day, blending quietly into routine, unnoticed and unmarked. And then there are dates that carry weight, dates that are not just points on a calendar, but spiritual intersections. May 27th is not ordinary. It is not random. It is not just another day that came and will go. It is a line, a dividing line between what has been delayed and what must now be decided. And you are standing directly on that line, whether you realized it or not. You may be wondering why this moment feels compressed, why everything suddenly feels urgent, as if time itself is no longer stretching comfortably ahead of you. It feels tighter now, more focused, more demanding. That is because, in the spiritual realm, time is not behaving the way it usually does. It is converging. Moments that were once distant are being pulled closer. Decisions that could have been postponed are now pressing in, asking to be made without hesitation. This is why the message carries such intensity. This is why your spirit feels like it cannot simply move on without acknowledging what is being placed before you. Because May 27th is not just a date, it is a deadline of alignment. A moment where something that has been waiting, something that has been building, something that has been trying to reach you can no longer remain unresolved. You may have felt it in subtle ways leading up to now. A sense that something was approaching. A feeling that something important was just beyond your awareness, waiting for the right moment to reveal itself. Perhaps you noticed how certain thoughts kept returning, how certain emotions would not fully settle, how certain memories kept resurfacing no matter how much you tried to move forward. That was not coincidence. That was preparation. Because when a moment like this arrives, it does not come without warning. It begins quietly, weeks or even months before, planting seeds of awareness inside you. It stirs your spirit gently at first, then more persistently, until finally it brings you here, to this exact moment where everything begins to make sense. And now, the urgency is no longer hidden. It is direct. It is undeniable. He is asking something of you. There is a reason your mother's voice is reaching you now, and not later. There is a reason Archangel Michael has intervened at this exact point, and not before. It is because tomorrow is not just another day. Tomorrow represents closure, finality, a shift that cannot be reversed once it passes. And what is meant to happen before that shift must happen now. This is not meant to create fear within you. It is meant to awaken you, to pull you fully into the present moment where your awareness, your attention, and your willingness matter more than ever. Because the truth is, you have more power in this moment than you realize. But that power is tied to your response. It is tied to whether you choose to listen, to act, to acknowledge what is being placed before you, or whether you allow it to pass by, thinking there will always be another chance. There is not always another chance. Some moments are designed to happen once, and only once, because they carry a specific alignment that cannot be recreated. And May 27th is one of those moments. It holds a window that is open now, but will not remain open indefinitely. What is being offered to you is not something that can be delayed without consequence. But loss of connection, loss of clarity, loss of something that was meant to bring resolution. Your mother's urgency is not coming from a place of panic. It is coming from a place of knowing. Knowing that this is the moment where something can finally be completed, something can finally be healed, something can finally be released in a way that frees both you and her from what has remained unfinished. And Archangel Michael's presence is not accidental either. His role is to ensure that this moment reaches you clearly, without distortion, without confusion. To cut through hesitation, to remove doubt, and to stand as a witness that what you are experiencing right now is real, significant, and not to be ignored. So ask yourself honestly, why does this feel so important? Why does this moment feel different from everything else you've encountered recently? Why does something inside you resist the idea of turning away from this message? Because your spirit recognizes what your mind is still trying to understand. Time is not stretching forward right now. It is focusing inward, bringing everything to a single point of decision. And that point is here, now, with you. You are not being rushed without reason. You are being called at the exact moment where your response matters most. Type "I respond now" in the comments if you feel the urgency of this moment. Blessing code 2727 is now activated around your path. As this moment presses on your spirit, understand this: every time you respond to a divine call, you become a vessel that helps someone else hear theirs. When you sow into this mission through Super Thanks or the PayPal link in the description, you are not supporting a channel. You are releasing light into places where darkness has held people in silence. The word says, "Cast your bread upon the waters, for you will find it after many days." And this is not just a verse. It is a living promise speaking directly over your obedience right now. I feel led to say this clearly. I am stepping into alignment, and through my giving, I am helping another soul receive their breakthrough. Do not delay this moment. What you release now becomes a seed that heaven multiplies beyond what you can see. Your generosity is not small. It is a river that carries healing, clarity, and awakening to those who are still searching. As you give, heaven records it as an act of faith, and blessings begin to move toward you in ways you did not expect. Step into this now. Act with purpose. Release your seed and watch what God does next. There are words that echo long after they were meant to be spoken. Words that linger in the quiet spaces of your heart, not because you forgot them, but because you never had the chance to release them. And right now, as you stand in this moment of awareness, something deep within you is beginning to surface. Not loudly, not all at once, but gently, persistently, like a truth that has waited patiently for the right time to be acknowledged. This is the space where regret lives, not the kind that condemns you or traps you in guilt, but the kind that reveals what still matters. The kind that reminds you that something meaningful was left incomplete. Because when your mother left this world, it wasn't just her physical presence that shifted. It was the conversation between you that suddenly stopped. It was the exchange of words, emotions, and understanding that ended without warning, leaving behind pieces that were never fully expressed. And you felt that, haven't you? Moments when you replay conversations in your mind, wondering if there was something more you could have said. Moments when you wish you had one more chance to express something clearly, to ask one more question, to listen just a little longer. Not because what you had wasn't real, but because you now realize how much more there was beneath the surface. That realization does not come to hurt you. It comes to waken you. Because what was left unsaid did not disappear. It remained. It settled into a quiet space between you and her, waiting for a moment where it could finally be acknowledged and released. And that is exactly where you are now. This is not about going back in time. This is about completing what time could not hold open long enough. There were things she carried too. Feelings she may not have fully expressed. Thoughts she may have kept to herself. Words she intended to say but believed there would always be more time for. Life has a way of creating that illusion, convincing both of you that tomorrow would always be available, that conversations could be continued later, that emotions could be shared when the moment felt more convenient. But tomorrow, as you now understand, is not always guaranteed. That is why this moment carries such depth, because it is not just about what you feel. It is about what both of you carried into that final separation. The unspoken gratitude, the unexpressed forgiveness, the love that was present, but perhaps not always articulated in the way it could have been. And here is the truth that your spirit is beginning to recognize. None of that is lost. It has remained intact, waiting for a moment like this where it can finally move, finally breathe, finally be released into completion. This is why her voice feels so intentional right now. Not because she is asking you to dwell in the past, but because she is asking you to finish something that was never meant to remain unfinished. You may have avoided this space before, not because you didn't care, but because it felt easier to move forward without opening what might feel heavy. It felt safer to focus on what you could control in the present rather than revisit what you could no longer change. But this moment is not asking you to change the past. It is asking you to acknowledge it fully, because within that acknowledgement is freedom. Not just for you, but for the connection you still share with her. There is something powerful about completing what was left open, about giving voice to what remained silent, about allowing emotions that were held back to finally move without resistance. This is not about perfection. It is not about whether you did everything right or said everything correctly. It is about honesty, about allowing yourself to feel what is real without filtering it, without minimizing it, without pushing it aside. Because what she is reaching for now is not complicated. It is not something distant or unattainable. It is something deeply human. Something rooted in connection, in understanding, in the simple but profound act of recognition. She needs you to see this clearly, to understand that what was left unsaid still carries meaning, that what was not expressed still holds value, and that what remained incomplete can still be brought into peace. This is why the moment feels so specific, so direct, because this is not a general message. This is personal. It is tailored to the exact space within you that has remained untouched, waiting for the right time to be open. And now, the time has come. You are not being asked to carry regret. You are being invited to release it. You are not being asked to dwell in what was missed. You are being guided to complete what was paused. And in doing so, something within you will shift in a way that you cannot force, cannot rush, but can only allow. Stay present in this. Stay open to what is rising within you, because what comes next will require you to move beyond recognition into response. Type "I release what was unsaid" in the comments if you feel this truth. Lesson code 3333 is now flowing through your heart. There are connections that do not rely on presence, distance, or even time. Connections that exist beyond what your eyes can see or your hands can touch. And what you are beginning to understand now is that the bond between you and your mother never truly disconnected. It changed form, yes. It moved beyond the physical, yes. But it did not end. It did not fade. It did not dissolve into nothing. It remained active, aware, and deeply connected to you in ways you are only now starting to recognize. You have not been as alone as you thought. There have been moments, quiet, almost unnoticeable moments, where something felt different. A sudden sense of comfort when you were overwhelmed. A calm that arrived without explanation, right when you needed it most. A thought that came into your mind so clearly, so gently, that it didn't feel like your own voice said it felt familiar. Safe. Oh. That was not random. That was connection. Your spirit is not limited the way your physical senses are. It perceives beyond logic. It recognizes beyond proof. And for a long time, your spirit has been picking up on something your mind has struggled to define. Small signals, subtle impressions, a presence that felt close, even when you told yourself there was no reason for it to be. You may have brushed these moments aside. You may have explained them away as coincidence, emotion, or imagination. But now, as everything begins to align, you can see the pattern more clearly. You can feel the consistency in those experiences, the way they came at specific times, the way they carried a tone, a feeling, a familiarity that you could not fully explain, because it was never meant to be explained logically. It was meant to be felt. Your mother has been reaching you through the only channel that remains open between both worlds, your awareness. Not the awareness of your thoughts, but the awareness of your spirit. The place within you that does not rely on evidence, but recognizes truth when it encounters it. Think about the moments when you suddenly remembered her without any clear trigger. Not just a passing thought, but a strong, emotional presence that seemed to stop you for a second. Almost as if something inside you paused everything else just to bring her forward into your mind. Those moments were not accidents. They were invitations. Invitations for you to notice, to feel, to recognize that the connection was still active, still alive, still reaching toward you. But because your attention has been divided, because your focus has been pulled in so many directions, those invitations were not always fully received. Until now. Now, the connection is becoming stronger, clearer, more direct. Not because it suddenly appeared, but because you are finally in a moment where you can recognize it without resistance. There is also something else you may have experienced: dreams. Not ordinary dreams that fade quickly and leave no impression, but vivid ones. Dreams where she felt present, where the interaction felt real, where the emotions lingered even after you woke up. You may have dismissed those as your mind processing memory, but deep down something about them felt different, didn't it? Because they were. In those moments, the barrier between awareness and connection becomes thinner. The distractions of the waking world fade, and your spirit becomes more open, more receptive. That is why those encounters felt more real than anything else. Because in that space, you were not trying to understand. You were simply experiencing. And now, that same connection is moving into your waking awareness. Not as a dream, not as a fleeting feeling, but as a direct pull toward recognition. This is why everything feels more intense right now. Because the connection is no longer subtle. It is no longer waiting quietly for you to notice. It is actively reaching, actively calling, actively asking for your attention in a way that cannot be ignored. But here is the part that matters most. This connection is not meant to confuse you or overwhelm you. It is meant to guide you, to bring you into a moment where something meaningful can be completed, something important can be understood, something necessary can be done. Your mother is not reaching randomly. She is reaching with purpose. Every moment you felt her presence, every time your thoughts were pulled toward her, every unexplained sense of closeness, All of it has been leading to this point. A point where you are no longer questioning whether the connection is real, but beginning to understand why it is happening now. You are not imagining this. You are responding to it. And the more you allow yourself to stay open, to stay present, to stay aware without shutting it down or explaining it away, the clearer it becomes. Not louder, not overwhelming, but clear. More precise. More intentional. Because the connection has always been there. You're just now seeing it for what it is. And what comes next will require you to move from awareness into action. Type "I trust the connection" in the comments if you feel this presence. Blessing code 4444 is now surrounding your awareness. There are moments when guidance comes gently, almost like a whisper, giving you space to consider, to reflect, to move at your own pace. And then there are moments when that guidance shifts, when it becomes direct, firm, unmistakable. This is one of those moments, because now, the presence surrounding this message is no longer just emotional or reflective, it is authoritative. It carries weight. It carries instruction. And it comes with a clarity that does not leave room for hesitation. Archangel Michael does not arrive without reason. His presence is not symbolic, and it is not passive. It is purposeful. It signals that something has reached a point where delay is no longer safe. Not because something is chasing you, but because something important is at risk of being missed if you do not respond with awareness and intention. You may feel a shift as you read this, a sense that the tone has changed, that what once felt like an invitation now feels like a directive. That is not by accident. It is because this moment is no longer about understanding alone. It is about movement. It is about recognizing that what stands before you requires a response, not later, not eventually, but now. Archangel Michael's role is to remove confusion, to cut through doubt, to ensure that what is being presented to you is not diluted by overthinking, hesitation, or fear of acting. And right now, his message is clear. You cannot afford to wait. You may still feel the urge to pause, to step back, to tell yourself that you need more time to process, more clarity before you act, more certainty before you respond. That instinct feels natural. It feels responsible. But in this moment, it is also the very thing that can cause you to miss what is being placed directly in front of you. Because not every moment is designed to be analyzed. Some moments are designed to be answered. And this is one of them. There is something forming just beyond your immediate awareness. A shift that is already in motion. You may not see all of it yet, but you can feel its presence. The dynamic of time. The intensity of this message. The way everything seems to be aligning around a single point of decision. That is not coincidence. That is convergence. And Archangel Michael stands at that point to ensure you do not turn away from it. His warning is not meant to create fear. It is meant to create focus. To pull you fully into the present moment where your attention is clear, your awareness is sharp, and your response is intentional. Because hesitation, in this moment, does not protect you. It distances you from what you are meant to complete. You may wonder what happens if you do wait. If you step back and choose to come back to this later, when it feels more comfortable, more manageable. The truth is simple, but it carries weight. The opportunity that exists now may not exist in the same way later. Not because it is taken away, but because its alignment shifts. Moments like this are precise. They are formed by timing, connection, and readiness all coming together at once. And when one of those elements moves, the moment changes. It does not disappear completely, but it no longer carries the same clarity, the same access, the same depth of connection. That is why this warning is being delivered now. Because you are in the exact position where everything is aligned for you to respond fully. Not partially, not coyly, but completely. Archangel Michael is not asking you to understand every detail before you move. He is asking you to trust the clarity of this moment, to recognize that the urgency you feel is not pressure, it is direction. It is guidance pointing you towards something that requires your attention without delay. You are being protected in this moment, but protection does not mean inactivity. It means you are being guided to act in a way that aligns with what is being revealed to you. There is also something else you need to understand. Delay is not neutral. It creates distance. It weakens the connection that is strongest right now. It allows doubt to enter where clarity currently exists. And once doubt begins to grow, it becomes harder to return to this same level of awareness. That is why the message is firm. Because what you are being asked to do is not complicated, but it is time sensitive. It requires you to stay present, to stay open, and to move when the moment calls you to move. You are not being rushed blindly. You are being guided precisely. And Archangel Michael stands here to ensure that you see this clearly, without distraction, without confusion, without hesitation clouding what is already evident within you. The path is not hidden. The moment is not unclear. The only question that remains is whether you will respond. Type "I will not delay" in the comments if you are ready to act in this moment. Blessing code 5555 is now activated over your decisions. There is something within you that has been holding back, even as everything around you has been urging you forward. You feel it now more clearly than before. That quiet resistance, that subtle hesitation, that internal voice that says, "Wait, not yet, maybe later." And while it may seem like caution, like self-protection, like a natural need to process, it is, in truth, an emotional barrier that has been quietly standing between you and what you are being called to do. This barrier did not appear suddenly. It has been forming over time, shaped by experiences, by memories, by moments where you felt something deeply and chose to close part of yourself in order to move forward. Not because you were weak, but because you were human. Because at certain points, it felt easier to keep moving than to fully sit with what you felt. And now, that same mechanism is trying to activate again. You are being asked to open a space within you that has not been fully opened in a long time. A space where emotion is not controlled, not filtered, not reduced into something manageable, but allowed to exist as it truly is. And that can feel uncomfortable. It can feel overwhelming. It can feel like stepping into something uncertain. So part of you resists. Part of you tries to stay in control by analyzing instead of feeling, by delaying instead of responding, by questioning instead of trusting. And on the surface, that seems reasonable. It feels like you are protecting yourself from something that might be too much. But look closer. What are you really protecting yourself from? It is not the message itself. It is not your mother's voice. It is not the presence guiding you. It is the depth of what you might feel if you fully allow yourself to respond. Because responding means opening. Responding means acknowledging everything that has been held beneath the surface. The love, the loss, the unanswered questions, the unspoken words. It means stepping into a space where you are no longer holding everything together, but allowing something real to move through you without restriction. And that is where the resistance comes from. Not from doubt, but from vulnerability. You have learned, over time, how to carry your emotions in a way that allows you to function, to move forward, to continue living without being overwhelmed. You have learned how to compartmentalize, how to set things aside when they felt too heavy to fully process. And that has helped you in many ways. But now, the same pattern is standing in the way of something that requires your full presence. Because this moment cannot be completed halfway. It cannot be responded to intellectually while avoiding the emotional truth within it. It requires you to feel, to acknowledge, to allow yourself to step into what is real without pulling back the moment it becomes intense. This is the barrier. It is not external. It is not something placed upon you. It is something within you that has been built over time, now being challenged by a moment that asks for more than what you have been used to giving. And here is the truth that may feel difficult, but is necessary. If you do not move through this barrier, you will remain aware but not transformed. You will understand what this moment is, but you will not fully receive what it is meant to give you. Because the response required here is not just mental. It is emotional. It is spiritual. It is complete. There is also fear attached to this barrier, even if you have not named it directly. The fear of what you might feel. Fear of reopening something you thought you had already settled. Fear of stepping into a space where control is replaced with surrender. But what you need to see clearly is this. What is waiting for you on the other side of this barrier is not something that will harm you. It is something that will release you. Release you from what has been held inside without resolution. Release you from the weight of what was never fully expressed. Release you from the quiet tension of something unfinished. And that release cannot happen if you remain guarded. You are not being asked to lose control. You are being asked to let go of the need to control this moment in the first place. Because this moment is not here to overwhelm you. It is here to complete something within you that has been waiting for exactly this level of awareness. You have already come this far. You have already recognized the connection. You have already felt the urgency. You have already seen the meaning behind what is happening. Now, the only thing left is to move through what is holding you back from responding fully. And that begins with a simple but powerful choice. To stop resisting what you feel. To stop delaying what you already know. To stop holding back when everything within you is being called forward. You are ready for this moment even if part of you feels uncertain. Because readiness is not the absence of hesitation. It is the willingness to move despite it. Type "I release my resistance" in the comments if you are ready to move forward. Blessing code 6666 is now dissolving every barrier within you. Everything you have felt leading up to this moment, the pull, the urgency, the memories, the resistance, it has all been guiding you toward one central point. Not confusion, not mystery without meaning, but a request. A sacred request that has been waiting for your full awareness before it could be revealed clearly. And now, you are ready to hear it. What your mother needs from you is not complicated, but it is deeply significant. It is not something external that requires preparation, resources, or time to organize. It is something internal, something immediate, something only you can give, and something that cannot be replaced by anything else. She needs your acknowledgement, not a surface-level thought. Not a passing memory, but a real, present, conscious acknowledgement of what exists between you, of the love that was shared, of the moments that mattered, of the connection that still lives beyond what is visible. She needs you to stop moving past it, stop minimizing it, and instead stand fully in it, even if just for a moment. Because that acknowledgement is what opens the door. For too long, parts of this connection have remained unspoken, not because they were unimportant, but because life moved forward quickly. You adapted. You continued. You learned how to carry what you felt in a way that allowed you to function. But in doing so, you also left certain things incomplete, not intentionally, but inevitably. And now she is asking you to complete them. She needs you to speak what was never spoken, not out loud for others to hear, not for display, not for validation, but for truth, for closure, for connection. She needs you to express what remained within you, the gratitude you may not have fully articulated, the forgiveness that may have stayed unspoken, the love that existed but was not always said in the way it could have been. This is not about correcting the past. This is about completing it. Because there is power in expression, power in allowing what was once held back to finally move freely, power in giving voice to what remained silent, and that power does not disappear just because time has passed. It remains available, waiting for the moment when you are willing to use it. This is that moment. He also needs you to release something. Not everything. Not your memories, not your connection, not the bond you carry, of the weight attached to what was infinite. The subtle heaviness that has stayed with you, even if you have not fully recognized it. The quiet tension of what if, I wish, or if only. That weight is not meant to stay with you. It was never meant to be carried indefinitely. And now, you are being given the opportunity to let it go, not by ignoring it, but by addressing it directly, by facing it, feeling it, and allowing it to move through you instead of remaining within you. This is what she needs. Not perfection, not a perfect response, not the exact words or the exact emotions, but sincerity, presence, willingness. Because when you do this, something shifts. The connection becomes clear, not heavy. The memory becomes peaceful, not unresolved. The bond becomes complete, not suspended between what was and what could have been. There is also something else she is asking of you, something that extends beyond this moment. He needs you to carry forward what was good, what was real, what was meaningful, without attaching it to pain or regret. To allow her presence in your life to be something that strengthens you, not something that weighs on you. This is how the connection continues in a healthy, balanced way. Not through holding on to what was lost, but through honoring what still exists in a form that supports you rather than burdens you. And this is why the request had to come now. Because you are at a point where you can understand this fully, where you can respond to it not out of confusion, but out of awareness, where you can complete what needs to be completed without creating more questions. This is the moment where everything aligns, where what was felt becomes understood, where what was understood becomes expressed, where what was expressed becomes released, and where what was released becomes peace. Do not overthink this. Do not complicate it. Do not delay it waiting for the right time, because this is the right time. You already know what needs to be said. You already feel what needs to be released. You already sense what needs to be acknowledged. Now you simply need to do it. Type "I complete this connection" in the comments if you are ready to respond. Blessing code 7777 is now activated over your heart and spirit. As you step into this sacred act of completion, understand that every act of obedience you make becomes a doorway for someone else's healing. When you sow into this mission through Super Thanks or the PayPal link in the description, you are not giving to a platform. You are becoming a vessel through which God reaches hearts that are still waiting for clarity. The word declares, "Those who sow in tears shall reap in joy," and this is a living promise that speaks over your willingness to give in this very moment. I feel this deeply. I am choosing to act, and through my giving, I am helping another soul find their breakthrough. Do not hesitate, because this moment carries spiritual weight. What you release now becomes a seed that heaven multiplies into restoration, into light, into transformation for others. As you give, Blessings are set into motion around your life in ways you cannot yet see. Step into this now. Act with faith. Release your seed and watch what God begins to unfold. There is a quiet assumption that often settles into the mind during moments like this. An assumption that feels reasonable, even comforting. It tells you that you can always come back to it later. That if something truly matters, it will still be there tomorrow. That if you are not ready now, you will be ready soon. And while that belief may hold true in many areas of life, this is not one of those moments. Because what you are standing in right now is not just important, it is time sensitive. You may feel the temptation to step away from this, to tell yourself that you understand enough for now, that you can return to it when your emotions feel more settled, when your mind feels clearer, when the intensity fades. But what you must see clearly is this: the intensity you feel is not something to wait out. It is something to respond to. Because if you choose to wait, something shifts. Not dramatically at first, not in a way that immediately feels like loss, but subtly, quietly. The clarity you feel now begins to soften. The connection you sense begins to fade into something less distinct. The urgency that feels undeniable in this moment becomes easier to ignore. And before you realize it, what once felt like a direct call becomes a distant thought. This is how moments like this pass. Not with a sudden disappearance, but with a gradual dimming. A slow return to normal routines, normal distractions, normal patterns that pull your attention away from what once felt so important. And in that return, the opportunity that existed in its fullest form is no longer the same. This is the consequence of waiting, not punishment, not something imposed on you, but a natural result of allowing a precise moment to lose its alignment. Because what you are experiencing right now is not just awareness, it is alignment. A rare point where your attention, your emotional openness, your spiritual connection, and the message being delivered are all present at the same time. And that combination does not hold indefinitely. If you ignore it, you do not lose everything, but you lose the depth of this moment. You lose the clarity that is available right now. You lose the ability to respond with the same level of connection that is present within you in this exact space. And more importantly, you leave something incomplete. The request that has been placed before you remains unanswered. The expression that is ready to be released remains held back. The weight that is ready to be lifted remains where it is. Not because it cannot be addressed later, but because later does not carry the same access as now. There is also something else that happens when you choose to wait. Doubt begins to enter. Not immediately, but gradually. Questions start to replace clarity. You begin to wonder if what you felt was real, if what you experienced was meaningful, if what you sensed was something you should have acted on. And that doubt creates distance. Distance from the connection. Distance from the message. Distance from the very thing that brought you here in the first place. And once that distance forms, returning to this same level of awareness becomes more difficult. This is why the message is clear. This is why the urgency has been emphasized. This is why Archangel Michael has already warned you about delay. Because waiting, in this moment, is not neutral. It changes the outcome. You are not being asked to act without understanding. You are not being put into something unclear or uncertain. You have already been guided step by step to this point. You have felt the connection. You have recognized the meaning. You have understood the request. Now, the only thing that remains is your response. And that response cannot be postponed without consequence. There is a reason you are here now. There is a reason everything has aligned in this exact way. There is a reason the message reached you before the moment passed. Because you were meant to respond while everything is still open, still clear, still present. If you step away, you do not erase what has happened, but you miss the fullness of what it was meant to give you. And that is something you will feel, even if you cannot immediately explain it. A subtle sense that something was left undone. A quiet awareness that a moment passed without being fully embraced. And that awareness lingers, not as guilt, but as recognition. Recognition that you were given an opportunity to complete something meaningful and chose to wait instead. But right now, you have not missed it. Right now, you are still inside the moment. Right now, the connection is still clear, the request is still active, the path is still open. And that means you still have the choice to respond fully. Do not let this become something you look back on wondering what would have happened if you had acted. Do not allow this to turn into another unfinished space within you. Because you already know what needs to be done. You have felt it from the beginning. Now, all that remains is to honor it. Type "I will not miss this moment" in the comments if you are choosing to act now. Blessing code 8888 is now sealing your alignment in this moment. As everything intensifies around you, the urgency, the emotion, the clarity of what is being asked, there is something you must not overlook. You are not stepping into this moment alone. You are not exposed, unguarded, or left to navigate this without support. In fact, the very reason this moment has been able to reach you so precisely is because there is a covering over you right now. A protection that has been active long before you became aware of it, and that is now surrounding you with purpose. You may not see it with your eyes, but you can feel it if you pause long enough. A subtle sense of steadiness beneath the intensity. That quiet reassurance that, despite everything rising within you, you are not overwhelmed. That inner grounding that holds you in place even as you are being called to move forward. This is not coming from you alone. This is protection. Archangel Michael's presence is not only about warning or urgency. It is also about shielding. About ensuring that as you step into this moment, nothing interferes with what needs to be completed. No confusion. No external distraction. No internal fear is meant to overpower the clarity that has been given to you. You are being held in a space where truth can reach you without distortion. That is what protection looks like here. It is not loud. It is not forceful. It is precise. It creates a boundary around this moment so that what is meant for you arrives clearly, and what is not meant for you does not interrupt it. It allows you to focus, to feel, to respond without being pulled away or scattered. Think about everything that could have distracted you from this. The countless things that normally compete for your attention. The thoughts that could have taken over. The interruptions that could have pulled you away. And yet, here you are. Present. Focused. Aware. That is not accidental. That is part of the protection that has been placed over this moment. Because what you are doing right now matters. Completing this connection, responding to this request, releasing what hath been held. It is not just an emotional act. It is a spiritual one. And spiritual acts require a certain level of clarity and safety to unfold fully. That is what you are being given. A space where you can respond without interference. A moment where your attention is guided, not scattered. A presence that ensures you are not stepping into this blindly. There is also something deeper within this protection. It is not only about guarding you from external distractions. It is about stabilizing you internally. Because as you move through this moment, as you allow yourself to feel and express what is necessary, there is a vulnerability that naturally comes with it. And that vulnerability, while necessary, can sometimes feel overwhelming if you are not supported. But you are supported. You are being held in a way that allows you to open without breaking, to feel without losing control, to release without becoming lost in what you are experiencing. This is the balance that divine protection provides. It does not remove the depth of the moment. It holds you steady within it, so that you can move through it fully, without fear of being consumed by it. This is why you can trust what is happening right now, not because you understand every part of it, but because you are being guided through it in a way that keeps you safe, grounded, and clear. There is also reassurance in knowing that nothing you do in this moment will harm you. Expressing what you feel will not weaken you. Releasing what you have held will not leave you empty. Acknowledging this connection will not pull you backward. It will move you forward. And the protection around you ensures that this movement happens in a way that strengthens you rather than destabilizes you. You are not stepping into uncertainty without support. You are stepping into completion with guidance. And that guidance is steady, intentional, and present with you right now. To allow yourself to trust this, allow yourself to move forward without hesitation, knowing that you are not doing this alone, that every step you take within this moment is being supported, that every emotion you allowed is being held, that every word you express is being received in a space that is safe and protected. This is your moment, but it is also a guided moment, a moment where everything is aligned not only for clarity, but for completion under protection. Stay in it. Stay present. Stay open. Because you are being carried through this in a way that ensures it leads to peace, not confusion. Type "I am protected" in the comments if you feel this covering around you. Blessing code 9999 is now sealing divine protection over your spirit. There comes a moment when everything you have felt, everything you have understood, and everything you have been guided toward begins to converge into one decisive act. Not a complicated act, not something distant or abstract, but something simple, immediate, and powerful. This is that moment. The moment where awareness must become action, where understanding must become obedience, and where what has been held for so long is finally ready to be released. You have carried more than you realize. Not just memories, not just emotions, but a subtle weight that has followed you quietly. A weight formed from what was left incomplete, from what was never fully expressed, from what remained suspended between you and your mother when time no longer allowed the conversation to continue. You adapted to it. You learned how to move forward with it. You told yourself it was simply part of life, something to accept and live with. But it was never meant to stay with you. And now, you are being given the opportunity to release it. This release is not automatic. It does not happen simply because you understand that it is needed. It happens through obedience, through your willingness to do exactly what has been placed before you, without hesitation, without overthinking, without waiting for a more comfortable moment. Because healing, in its truest form, does not come from avoidance. It comes from response. You already know what that response is. You have felt it building within you from the beginning of this message. The words you need to express, the emotions you need to allow, the acknowledgement you need to give. None of it is unfamiliar to you. It hath been present, waiting just beneath the surface, waiting for you to stop holding it back. And now, the moment has arrived where holding it back is no longer necessary. When you choose to release, something shifts immediately. Not in a dramatic, overwhelming way, but in a deep, internal way that you cannot mistake. The tension you have carried begins to dissolve. The space within you that felt tight begins to open. The connection that once felt unresolved begins to settle into something peaceful, something complete. This is what healing looks like. It is not the erasing of what happened. It is not the forgetting of what was felt. It is the transformation of it. The movement from something that held weight into something that brings clarity and peace. But this transformation requires your participation. It requires you to step fully into this moment and allow yourself to do what you have been guided to do. Not partially, not cautiously, but completely. Because partial obedience does not bring full release. You cannot hold on to part of it while trying to let go of the rest. You cannot express some of what you feel while keeping the deeper parts hidden. You cannot move forward while still holding back what needs to be released. This is an all-or-nothing moment, and you are ready for it. You may feel the intensity rising as you approach this point, a sense that something important is about to happen, that something within you is about to shift in a way that cannot be undone. That feeling is real. It is the signal that you are standing at the threshold of completion. Do not step back now. Do not allow hesitation to return. Because everything has been leading you to this exact point where you can finally break the cycle that has remained unclosed. And understand this clearly. This is not just about you. What you release here does not end here, and changes the way you carry this connection forward. It changes the way this experience lives within you. It removes the weight and replaces it with peace, and that peace will move with you into everything that comes next. This is the gift of obedience, not obligation, not pressure, but opportunity. The opportunity to finally close what was left open, to finally express what was left unsaid, to finally release what was never meant to stay with you. And once you do, there is no returning to the same state you were in before, because you will have moved through it. You will have completed it. You will have transformed it. This is your moment of release, your moment of healing, your moment of completion. And it begins the second you choose to act. Type "I am healed" and released in the comments if you are stepping into this moment. Blessing code 1111 is now activated over your heart and your future. You have reached the moment that everything has been leading toward. Not by accident, not by chance, but by design. Every feeling, every realization, every layer of understanding has brought you here, to a single, undeniable truth. This moment requires your decision. Not tomorrow, not later. Now, there is a stillness surrounding you right now that feels different from anything before. It is not empty. It is not quiet in the ordinary sense. It is full of presence, full of expectation, full of a sacred pause where everything waits on you. Not to pressure you, but to honor your role in what is unfolding. Because what happens next depends on you. Your mother has reached as far as she can from her side. The message has been delivered. The connection has been made clear. The request has been placed before you without confusion. Archangel Michael has cleared the path, removed distraction, and ensured that nothing stands between you and this moment of truth. Now, there is no more preparation, only response. And your response carries more weight than you realize. This is not just about completing a conversation. This is not just about expressing emotions. This is about closing a spiritual loop that has remained open, waiting for this exact moment of alignment. A loop that, once closed, releases not only peace into your present but freedom into your future. Because unfinished things do not stay still. They echo. They resurface. They linger in subtle ways, shaping how you feel, how you think, how you carry certain parts of your life forward. And when they are finally completed, that echo stops. That weight lifts. That lingering presence transforms into something calm, something resolved, something that no longer pulls at you from beneath the surface. This is what stands before you. Oblivion or continuation. Peace or postponement. Release or repetition. You cannot stay in between. And deep down you already know which one you are being called toward. You feel it in your chest. You feel it in the quiet conviction that has been growing stronger with every moment you have stayed here. You feel it in the way your mind is no longer questioning, but your spirit is confirming. This is your moment to act, to speak what has been waiting to be spoken, to feel what hath been waiting to be felt, to release what hath been waiting to be released. Not perfectly, not with rehearsed words or controlled emotions, but honestly, fully, completely, because that is all that is required. And once you do, something irreversible happens. Not in a way that takes something from you, but in a way that gives something back. Clarity replaces confusion. Peace replaces tension. Completion replaces that quiet sense of something unfinished. And you carry that forward into everything that comes next. This is why this moment matters. This is why it could not wait. This is why you were brought here now. Because your decision here does not stay here. It achieves. It completes something that has been waiting longer than you realize. So do not hesitate now. Do not step back when everything has aligned for you to step forward. Do not silence what your spirit is clearly telling you to do. Because this is not just a moment you experienced. This is a moment you were chosen to respond to. And now the choice is yours. Type "I choose completion" in the comments if you are stepping fully into this moment. Blessing code 1212 is now sealing peace, clarity, and completion over your life. As you step into this final act of completion, understand this. Your obedience does not stop with you. It multiplies through others who are still waiting for their moment of clarity. When you release your seed through Super Thanks with a PayPal link in the description, you are not supporting a message. You are becoming part of a divine movement that brings light into the lives of those still searching in the dark. The word speaks directly over you now. Whoever sows generously will also reap generously. And this is not distant scripture. This is God speaking into your present moment of action. I declare this with you. I am moving in obedience, and through my giving, I am helping awaken another soul. Do not delay this act, because what you release now becomes a prophetic seed that unlocks provision, clarity, and favor over your life. Your giving is not small. It is a spiritual response that heaven recognizes immediately. Step into this moment with boldness. Act now. Sow your seed and watch how God responds.